What's up, Wizards? It's Deb from the place. We're looking at some more Tarkir Dragonstorm today. A lot of Tarkir Dragonstorm these last couple of weeks, but appropriately, I'm looking at the Dragonstorm with a dragon. We got our buddy PowrDragn in the place here and now. We try to do this every season. I know you guys love when we link up. What's up, PowrDragn?
Man, they say I'm somewhat of a dragon expert, so if we didn't do this, it would have been a crime. So yeah, it works
really.
out.
This was like the one set we didn't get together. That would be really weird. It was too perfect. We couldn't do it, guys.
Yeah, exactly. It was too on the nose.
Right. This time we're going to look at overrated stuff. In case you hadn't seen it yet, we have looked at underrated cards from this set. A much more positive video probably over on PowrDragn's channel. Go sub to him. Check him out. I'll leave a link in the description. You can check that video out there. But today, we're going to put our spy cats on a little bit and maybe look at some cards that people are slightly too excited about. The overrated cards from Tarkir Dragonstorm. Now, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and let you take it. You are the guest around here, and I try to be as polite as I can. I am from the South. That does not actually mean anything. We just pretend we're polite.
Well, that just tells me, I already know how that works. You can tell me to bless my heart whenever I tell you what this card is.
Right. You know what that actually means.
Yeah.
What is your first one?
This card is outright, my whole list is just going to have people mad this whole video. But
let's say that.
But this is one that I've seen so much hype on. And this is just coming back to be my refrain over and over is, what does the rest of the deck look like for this card? And it's Kheru Goldkeeper. It's 1 black, green, blue for a 3/3 flyer. When one or more cards leave your graveyard during your turn, you create a treasure token. And it has Renew, where you can pay 5 and exile this card from your graveyard, put 2+1/+1 counters and a flying counter on target creature, activate only as a sorcery. The thing is, this card has words that I love.
Same.
I can remove things. I get a treasure. The treasure doesn't even come into play tapped. I can sacrifice the treasure for things. I can maybe get into some type of Rube Goldberg. I don't know. I'm removing stuff, making a treasure multiple times in a turn. But what am I doing with it? Every time I think about it, it's like, okay, is this in I don't know, Insidious Roots type deck? Is this in a self-mill something? And then what's my payoff for getting the treasure other than just playing more regular cards with the deck? I'm sure there's something crazy you can do, and it might be a 4-card situation.
Yeah.
But for as much as I've seen this card discussed and hyped, I will tell you, you can pick these cards up for $1.50, $2 on a bunch of websites. So people ain't believing the hype either.
This will go down. Is this an uncommon? This is an uncommon. Yeah. I think for an uncommon, it's a neat, that one line of text with the treasure tokens is really cool. And it looks like kind of a commander-ish card, if anything. I've had multiple people point out, though, that the treasure tokens do come into play untapped, and that could matter.
Yeah.
I think that you've already pointed out Insidious Roots. This might be a little too expensive for Insidious Roots. It's trying to either bridge the gap to an expensive card or in a deck that draws a lot of cards, allow you to play more of them in one turn. I'm probably more into the latter use, but at the same time, I feel like it's probably a little too mana intensive to get on the table in the first place in a lot of decks that want it.
I mean, is it something crazy that Achik wants to do? Get your mana a little, make it cast Achik easier. I don't know.
Maybe. I feel like in that deck, there's other ways to ramp into it. There's more efficient ways to ramp into it. It's but I don't have to choose between the two cards. But given the choice between this and Molt Tender, if I have to take cards out of my graveyard to ramp into Achik, I'll take Molt Tender because it does other stuff along the way. And I kind of am with you on this. Every time I look at this card, I'm like, oh, that's a really neat line of text. But when you put it in context, if this card costs 2 or 3 mana, it'd be wild. At 4 mana, it's a lot more tame.
And it's a 3/3, right? Which means it can get scorched,
nowhere to run,
towards the tower, right? It can get hit with nowhere to run. It can hit, there's a bunch of stuff. I think even the new dragon thing, gives a creature -3/-3, you reveal a dragon, whatever.
Caustic Exhale.
Yeah, so that's a thing too. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's tough, man.
I don't trust it. I will say if they do blow it up without exiling it, you get probably underrated value. I think a lot of people look at this renew ability and they're like, well, that's going to take my entire turn. And yeah, but it could also get you in for the win. 2+1/+1 counters and flying is not nothing, but Obviously, again, it's that treasure line of text that everyone's going gagas over. And I think that it's really intriguing. But at the end of the day, I'm with you, man. I just don't know if it's at the
And
power level it needs to be. A little clunky. Looks a little clunky,
I'll
you know?
also close on this. Like sometimes, not always, but sometimes when there's that much hype over a card, like price can also be an indicator.
Mm-hmm.
And an uncommon with that much hype and that much discussion, if people thought enough of it, should at least be a $3 uncommon at this point.
Yeah. It's like
You know,
half that.
we've seen it with a bunch of other cards over the years that if it's an uncommon, it's playable, it's good, the price will be there. But this just doesn't feel like it. Like considering, like I said, you can find it for under $1.50, in some places still $1. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a hard sell for me. I'd love to be wrong because I feel like whatever you could figure out is probably gonna be
Yeah.
something awesome. But right now I don't see it.
Yeah, just the way Sultai is probably going to be built this season, it just doesn't fit this card. And even again in Roots, it might just be slow. So I'm with you. I want to be wrong too, but good kind of first pick, dip your toe pick to start your list. I like that one.
All right. Well, what do you got? Since I've already upset probably half the people watching.
We'll see, man. I keep getting a lot of pushback when I say I don't like this card, by the way. But we'll see, because my chat wanted to fight me. They wanted to get on a boat and come to my house and fight me. When I said that Nature's Rhythm is a little disappointing. This is 2 green and X for a sorcery. You search your library for a creature card, mana value X or less, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle. You can harmonize this for X and 4 green. Now, this card is currently about $8.50 according to Scryfall. So, and it's just a regular old rare. So apparently people have some hopes for it in standard. It's reminiscent of cards that we've seen in the past. But my problem with this is that if you just use the normal front-facing mode on it and cast it with its normal casting cost, you are always paying 2 more mana than that creature would normally cost, and that is a lot. When it comes to the harmonized mode, I'm kind of more into it, but I still kind of have a hard time seeing this card break through standard, because even if you are harmonizing it, you still have to have a really big dude both in play and in your graveyard, well, in your deck, to make it work one way or the other. So you can Crater Hoof, right, but getting Crater Hoof costs how much mana with this thing? I've heard people say maybe it's a win condition in Elves because it goes and gets the Crater Hoof.
Sure.
And it's, copies 5 through 8 of Crater Hoof. But honestly, I think the Elves deck is too tight to play 8 Crater Hoofs. You just play the 4 Crater Hoofs and draw into it. So I'm not sure where this goes. I'm not sure what creatures it finds. And ultimately, I just plain don't think it's good enough. I think it's too slow for standard, even with the harmonize.
I'll say this. I think for the Elf deck, it's a fine card if you wanted to play 2-3 copies, because there are scenarios where you can go get Tyvar to just set up an overrun, right? If you just have like 6-7 mana available or something, right? Those are like real scenarios that I could get behind. My issue has just been like outside of Elves, what do I want to do with it?
Right.
Right.
Because, going and getting an Arch Druid or, like you said, a Tyvar, those are good plays, but I don't know what else you're really doing with this in standard.
Yeah, like I said, at Elves it makes sense. I just don't know. And I guess there's some situations in Elves too. You could go get like the one that you can tap Elves and drain your opponent for 10 or whatever, right? Like,
yeah.
There's some other like random finisher
Commander
things
guy.
you could get. Yeah. But I don't know if I'm playing, I don't know, say like Sultai, am I ramping enough to go get a 5 or 6 cost dragon, maybe?
Whatever it is, a Vaultborn Tyrant. I keep bringing that
with
card
a big
up.
Question mark, because like, is it worth it to do that? Like, is there a world where I'm playing Smuggler Surprise and want to spend 6 or 7 to go get something? Like,
I'm glad you brought up Surprise.
Maybe, like, I don't know. It's tough.
In Smuggler Surprise decks, I feel like you just include enough large creatures to where you always have something to smuggle in. You know what I mean? This, I just feel like this is kind of awkward in the decks it wants to go in, mana cost wise. And hell, okay, let's say I want to go get a Vaultborn Tyrant and this is in my graveyard. Well, sure, I can tap down my Vaultborn Tyrant and pay 4 and go get another Vaultborn Tyrant. The problem is I've got a Vaultborn Tyrant in play already. I want to swing or block with it. You know what I mean? Like, I have to, if you do tap a huge creature down to cast this again, well, it's kind of a big deal to tap a huge creature down. You know what I mean? Like, if you tap one or 2 power guy down to harmonize the thing, we can talk about that. That's not a big deal. But if you tap like a 7 power guy down to harmonize something, well, that's a real cost at that point.
That's why I was saying something like Smuggler Surprise decks, because like there are some worlds where like, okay, I can't really attack. I'm kind of sitting here, but it's like, okay, well, I have some mana open. Let me tap this in my Terror of the Peaks to go get like a Calamity.
say with Terror of the Peaks, it is cute,
something like that, or go get the Terror of the Peaks because I have the Calamity or whatever the case is, right? Like maybe that's a thing we could do, but what am I playing? More than 2 copies, maybe?
Right, exactly. Am I
Yeah.
really playing that many? Is that how much opportunity cost is that
Yeah.
costing me in my deck? And I guess the one praiseful thing I'll say about, is that a word? Anyway, I'll praise this by saying that like maybe in like a 2-card combo deck that's looking for 2 very specific, even like cheap-ish creatures to put together, then like this will put them on the board pretty reliably. So I'll give it that. But
That's where my next thought was going, was
yeah,
in older formats, being able to go get, because they're almost always playing efficient cards. So you're probably not playing anything that's more than 3 mana, maybe 4 anyway. So you're like, okay, if I have to pay 4 to go get something that's going to set up a combo or a big game situation, then yeah, it's probably worth it, especially since we had formats where you couldn't play like Green Sun Zenith for a while or whatever.
Yeah, right.
This is a thing.
Yeah,
so
I've seen people call this like the next coming of Green Sun Zenith, and like, I don't know, dog. Don't we already have?
Kinda. Like,
we already have Genesis Wave in Standard. I just,
we don't even play Genesis Wave that much.
Exactly. That was my point, is that we don't even play that card. So I'm not, to me, maybe I'm like super wrong, but I'm not seeing it, man.
No, I'm with you. I think it's playable, but I do think it's overhyped.
Right. Exactly. My take. But what do you have for your number 4?
This is one that I'm either going to be absolutely correct or horribly wrong. Like, I don't think there's middle ground on this card. But United Battlefront. It's 3 and a white, sorcery. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. And 7's a lot. But 2 non-creature, non-land permanent cards with mana value 3 or less from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest in the bottom of your library in random order. This is one of those things where, some people are trying to compare it to Collected Company or whatever. It's like, no, these are not the same. Collected Company is an instant.
More like no-co, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like it's not the same. And obviously that goes and gets creatures and this doesn't, whatever. But I do think there's some big things we could do with this, right? Like you could go from nothing on the board to go get Caretaker's Talent and I don't know, Urabrass Forge.
Right, Forge is
assuming
good.
they're in the top 7 or whatever. Yeah. Right? That's a possibility. So I guess you could also just get like Carrot Cake or whatever, get a token.
I was going to say, Caretaker's Talent, Carrot Cake, that's a fun one. But
so those might be real scenarios. Like, I don't know if that makes those decks significantly better than they are now. Like, possibly. But I don't know beyond that how much I believe in the card. I feel like there's one kind of use, and it almost always involves something like a Caretaker's Talent, whatever. Yeah. But I would be interested in exploring this in something like an extra card in the synthesizer decks, right? Okay, I feel like if it has a shot, those are the 2 decks I think this stands out. If those end up becoming closer to tier 1 because of this card, then I'm totally wrong in the cards. Yeah, everything it's cut out to be.
And you got roasted in that case.
If those decks don't, then I start wondering where else could it possibly be, right? Are we trying to do some weird, I'm playing creatures, but I'm going to go get I don't know, War Leader's Call and a like whatever, like
we get a Collector's Cage and something else. And no, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it feels like it has to be those types of decks. So very possible it's great in those. And if so, that's why I said I'm going to be completely wrong. But if not, I don't know where else we're going to play it.
Like there are a number of 3 mana Planeswalkers this can grab, and I just throw that out there. But like you said, I think this is mostly going to see play in these like red-white decks that play Talent and Forge in the same deck. They play Carrot Cake, right? So they have a number of hits off of this. But even in those decks, I don't know if this really gets the jersey. Like it's going to be a tryouts, but I don't know if it's going to make the team, be a starter. None of that. Well,
like I said, if you want to reliably have your synthesizer, that makes sense, right? Like,
and synthesizer decks just started recently playing like Repurposing Bay as well. So that's got a number. 3 mana hits for this card to get. If you can get 6 mana value, that's good, but you're only getting 2 mana value.
But you also not just get that, you get the triggers from whatever those things are, and you're getting a 3/3 or bigger token as well, right? So that's a lot of value for 4 mana.
Yeah, and Caretakers, or not in Caretakers, but in Synthesizers, it still look kind of wacky. I could see it there. But ultimately, it's only going to get you a couple mana value. It's not anywhere near as broken as Coco. You're right. Sorcery speed and instant speed just make this world of difference. So yeah, you can't like flash this in, or you can't play this at instant speed during your opponent's combat step and block with your new creatures while getting ETB triggers. It's not going to happen.
But like
It
I
doesn't
said,
even
this
get
could be a
creatures.
real deck, though. I'm not
It could
gonna.
be, you brought up War Leader's Call. I've thought before one of the more fun things this can do is put like 2 War Leader's Call or a War Leader's Call and an Impact Trimmers
Yeah, something
into
like that.
play. But
Maybe.
that's just fun stuff. Really, you're loco if you think it's Coco. This is more
Yeah.
like
I don't think it's as good as that by any stretch. I think that's where some of the hype comes from. But like I said, if this elevates either of those two decks to being for sure tier 1 and a lot of stuff,
yeah.
I will say I'm wrong.
But it remains to be seen. But I don't think we're going to see it. I think you're pretty safe in your assumption here.
All right.
Where even are we? We're on my number 3. Sure.
No, we're still early. You're in your number 4.
Oh my God, it is my number 4. Wow,
yeah.
It is early. All right. Well, my number 4 is a card that people have tried to tell me I'm wrong about on several occasions in this previous season. But I'm going to stick with it, man. My number 4 is Sage of the Skies. This is 3 mana. It's 2 and a white for a 2/3 flying lifelink. When you cast it, if you have cast another spell this turn, then you get to copy this guy. So for 3 mana, you'll effectively get 4 power flying lifelink on 2 bodies. I just still don't think that's good enough. I think there's some lines where on turn 4, you play 1 mana spell and then you get 2 of these dudes. And like technically that's better than Overlord of the Mistmoors. Right? That'll give you 2/1 flyers. You got 2/3 flyers with lifelink. I've had people try to tell me that this card is kind of like, double Vampire Nighthawk, where I guess my reply to that is
slow your roll there, buddy.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say that double Vampire Nighthawk is very good in 2025, and it doesn't have the death touch, which is a big deal. But ultimately, I just think you'll do better stuff than play this card. Again, you only have 60 spots in your deck, and 36 of them are non-land. And I'm just not sure this really goes anywhere at all. If I want to make like more than one guy in a turn, I think we have like several better options for that than this dude. And one last thing, it always costs you 2 cards to do it.
Sure.
Like people are like, oh, you can make a couple of 2/3s on turn 4. And like, yeah, but that's probably the earliest you can do it. And even then, how good is a couple of Windrakes? Is 2 Windrakes is your turn 4? I don't know, man. I don't get all the love for this thing.
Yeah, I will say this, like, there is a world where you could be a flyer heavy deck, and that could be a thing when you're talking about playing things like the 1/1 pirate,
Yeah, I'd say Spyglass Siren into this on 4.
birds, because that's also lifelink. You could do some stuff like that. There could be a deck based around that. It's also not bad as a catch-up mechanic, where like you play 2 or 3 things, you hold this and another creature, so like the board gets swept, you have 3 guys again. But is the thing you're getting worth the hype? Like that's sort of what I'm looking at. Like, is it solid like on turn 4 against mono red because I'm getting some life linkers? Like, maybe.
But is it even? Like it barely blocks anything in mono reds. People think it's going to be a speed bump for mono red, but mono red can go well above this just with like +1/+1 counters from Valiant triggers and stuff. Like it doesn't even need pump spells the turn that it runs up against this. Plus Screaming Nemesis is a card.
Oh yeah, I just think the value here is just going to be how much does the lifelink matter? I think is the real issue on this card. Not really even the size or that it flies. It's just how much does the lifelink matter? I think will determine how far this card goes.
Yeah. But, it's got to be decent against aggro for the lifelink to really count, I think. And I'm not actually sure it's as good against aggro as it might look at first glance.
I guess you get some chump blockers against dragons and gain some life.
Yeah, a couple of dragon blockers. Yeah.
Actually, ultimately, let me try this. Let me try a different angle. Like, what if we are playing the flurry type deck already that's wanting to play a bunch of small cantrips and whatever, play your second spell, get some tokens, draw another card. Like, maybe that's where this lives and can shine, right? That type of deck. Because you're already trying to play multiple spells in a turn anyway.
It's like I would posit that I don't think the flurry deck plays white. I don't think you need the white in its own deck, the Jeskai deck. Looks very Izzet heavy to me, but yeah, if you are playing white, this is one of the reasons, like the better reasons to do it. But is it even? See, that's the thing he's bugging me about this card is that like a 2/3 flying lifelink is pretty baseline for what you're actually paying for this. Mm-hmm. Does getting another one really make it any better. Really, I know on some board states it's going to, but if your 2/3 flying lifelink is already outclassed by a 3/3, 2 are still outclassed by the same 1/3/3. You see what I'm saying?
But there is also the world of you're spending 4 to get 7 mana, assuming you're spending 1 mana.
Yeah.
You can double block a big flyer and still have 1 dude left over. Like,
see, but I think that's the trap of this card, is looking at it like you're getting 6 mana value, but you're not, because the card is below rate. Right? Like, if the card was on rate,
well, it's kind of right on, actually. It's a 3 mana 2/3 flying lifelink.
I mean, is that enough for 3 mana in the current standard? Glissa is on rate in current standard.
Sure.
Preacher of the Schism is on rate. I don't think this is really on rate, like, at all. But I get what you mean. It should be on rate.
I mean, to be fair, I would argue that the others are above rate is the issue.
But I don't anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I get this could be a whole extra discussion. Because power creep has been a thing, and you're right. Like, Glissa is probably the best 3-drop in standard. She is by definition above rate. But are you going to play a card worse than Glissa or Preacher of the Schism in your 3-drop slot? No. So I think that in a way they are, in terms of standard power level, they're technically on rate. Again, this is a stupid conversation. We could have this.
I get what you're saying.
We could have this for like 30 minutes straight. But like, I agree that technically those cards are above rate, but you're also not going to play a worse card when you could play one of those, or a card as a similar power level. And I'm just not sure this even comes close to what we have in the 3 and 4 drop slot in standard right now. Because mostly this is a 4-drop that wants you to play a bunch of 1-drops in your deck. So it also affects the way you have to build your deck. And like, that's a whole thing too. So I don't know. I want to be,
like I said, I'm with you. I still think it's playable.
Well,
I just think, yes, there's still way too much hype around it. Because again, I think for some of these cards getting the hype they get, it's like, okay, is this going to show up in more than 1 or 2, even like tier 2 decks that are significant, right? Like, that's the question.
It's like, you could say these outclass Overlord of the Mistmore tokens on turn 4, but I would still rather play Overlord of the Mistmore.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like every day. So I don't see a reason to play it. What is, okay, now we're on your number 3. Okay, so we're moving here. What is your numero tres?
This is one, like I said, I know I'm upsetting people, but
you seem sad about this.
Yeah, the Sibsig Ceremony. I'm just gonna rip the band-aid off.
Yeah.
3 black mana, legendary enchantment. Creature spells cost you 2 less to cast. Whenever a creature you control enters, if you cast it, destroy that creature, then you get a 2/2 zombie druid. Here's the thing on this card. I feel like, and this is where I may be wrong, but I feel like in standard, if you don't get this card in play, you're probably playing some number of cards that are significantly worse to justify this card. When you get it, I feel like it's going to be awesome. If it sticks, you're going to get to do some really big things. But when you don't, like, I've seen lists where people are playing the like 4 mana Sultai guy is like a 2/2 is indestructible. If you like damages the opponent, you get to
you look at cards from the top of their library. You can cast them.
That's cool because you can play it. It's indestructible. You'll still get a 2/2, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
But the card itself isn't that good. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, all right. So when you don't have Sibsig Ceremony, you kind of have a subpar creature. You paid 4 mana for it. Like, does that make me excited to play this? Like, no. Like, in older formats, there feels like there's a little more room there, right? Like, there's a lot of recursive things. There's things you can play out of the graveyard. You can stack up zombies and do some big things. You maybe even sack the zombie tokens for stuff, right? Feels like there's a lot more there going on. Maybe you want to play some stuff that's got the renew ability, so you get your zombies, things go in the graveyard. Like, I could see that. But yeah, I feel like when you get it, deck's probably going to look great. But when you don't get it, the rest of your cards are going to look pretty pedestrian compared to what everybody else is doing.
True. This is a commander combo card and basically nothing else. In Commander, you go like Blood-Soaked Champion, Phyrexian Arena, make infinite zombies. You know, like there's a lot of little combos like that for Commander. In Standard, I don't see anything that isn't like really mana intensive. In Standard, this looks like a worse Scathe Zombies. The Scathe Zombie is just a 3 mana vanilla 2/2 zombie. And this is harder to cast, and you have to wait to get your 2/2 that doesn't do anything. And just like, yeah, I guess you can reanimate stuff, and that doesn't count. You get to keep the stuff you reanimate. You get to keep stuff that you flicker while this ability's on the stack. Like there's a few things that you can do that are tricky with this, but ultimately I think it's probably too slow in standard. It is skipping your turn 3. Some things people call that, but they're not really. This like is skipping your turn 3.
Yeah.
I really don't see this.
It's not just that.
Diddly
it's just
poop
like,
in standard.
Again, unless you have something with indestructible or whatever, blah blah blah. Like you're not even going to have a significant thing on the next turn, right? Because whatever you play gets sacrificed anyway. And even if you do, a lot of the stuff you're going to play for 4 with indestructible isn't that good by comparison. So it's like you got 2 creatures for 4, but okay.
It's like the one spot I've seen people recommend this card that kind of looks like it makes sense, conceptually at least, is Raise the Pass decks. But I don't like it there at all. I guess the idea is that you play your Ellisil cores and your Vengeful Blood Witches and stuff, and they just die, and you get zombies. So then you play Raise the Pass. They all come back again. You didn't cast them, so you get to keep them.
Yeah.
So you just got a board full of 2/2s and all of your Blood Artists.
But like,
and you can start sacking the 2/2s.
My other problem.
Triggers. This is horrible, though. I think this is a bad idea.
My other problem with that, though, is one, you need triple black, and a lot of the stuff they do are also white things that they're playing, whatever. By having this, you're going to lose the opportunity to get the life gain and the other things that the deck does on the way to returning all those things from the graveyard that buy you the time. And then if your opponent has anything that deals with enchantments or graveyards, like you just did all that work to not get a whole lot of value.
Nothing. Right.
Yeah. So like, can it be a thing? Like maybe you play 1 or 2 of in there just for the lulls and you get it the 1 of and you do something big. Great.
Yeah.
But yeah, not
maybe
too
in your
sold on
board for the right games, they're going to go long. But this just throws you off your curve so much in Raise the Pass. Like you want small creature that mills you, small creature that mills you, small creature that mills you, Raise the Pass. Whereas this is like, gnawing vermin, 2-drop that mills me this. And then like, okay, suddenly I've only got like 1 or 2 guys in my yard on turn 4.
And it's another non-creature you're having to play.
Yeah, it's exactly. That's the problem with this for real, is that deck wants to play 4 Raise the Pass and like 32 creatures. And this keeps you off doing that.
Here's my thing. Like, can you do it? Yes.
Yeah.
But does it make the deck significantly better than it already is at doing the thing it's doing? Probably not.
Yeah, I think it actually throws a wrench in the works a little bit, man.
It sets you up to potentially have clunkier draws that you don't need. Like, again, like I was just saying, when it works, it's going to look awesome.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't, it just made your draw feel weird to be slower than you want to be.
Yep. I guarantee you're going to put this card in your deck. You're going to resolve it on 3. And then on turn 4, you're going to draw like a creature you really, really want. You know what I mean?
Like, would you rather just have an Ellis as Death Touch or not? Because Ellis doesn't. That's the other thing too. The creatures you're playing outside of maybe the one cleric that costs 3 that gets bigger for the amount of life you gain.
Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah.
Nothing else you're really playing has that many colorless pips.
Nope.
So you're basically just paying the cost for everything anyway.
For everything, right?
Yeah.
So like sure, this kind of works in an interesting way with Infestation Sage or Nesting Bot, because the bot will die, you'll get a 2/2, and you'll get a 1/1. That's cool. But like you said, there's no actual cost reduction involved in that. And even worse, Bartolome, Amalia,
they're all 2 colors. Yeah,
right. So you're right on that point too. So yeah, I'm with you on Ceremony. This is an all-time commander combo card for aristocrats. And it works really well with like Phyrexian arenas and anything that could, whatever the card I'm thinking of is. It works really well with Phyrexian Altar. Thank you.
Oh, Brain. Where you sack it to get mana or
to get a mana, right? And like any small creature that can come back, you can start looping and get a bunch of zombies. So again, the commander card, but not standard. But we're on now my number 3. This is the one where I make everyone extremely upset. I know that you're worried that you're going to tick some people off. This is the one, I've got a couple, I think, that are actually just like over the top. I have already been called an idiot. I think that was the word the guy used, the literal word. He called me an idiot for not thinking that Ugin Eye of the Storms is quite as good as everyone seems to think. Now, I got a couple of caveats here, but I'll read the card a little bit first. This is the 7 loyalty, 7-drop Planeswalker. When you cast it, exile up to 1 target permanent that is 1 or more colors. Whenever you cast a colorless spell, you get to do that again. You can also +2 and gain 3 life and draw a card. 0 gets you 3 mana, colorless mana. And -11, who really cares? No one's going to use this ultimate, but search your library for any number of colorless non-lands, exile them, shuffle till end of turn. You can omniscience them into play. Just cast them without paying their mana cost. That is a disgusting ultimate, but mostly people are worried about the passive ETB trigger and the first two abilities. This card is currently $80, $80, more than a Sheoldred to pre-order. And that is my point. This card is woefully overrated. It is a good Magic card. This card is good, but this card is not $80 standard playable. Now, my last caveat is that I think this is probably modern playable in some sort of Tron list where you get 7 mana super fast. But as far as standard playability, I would 9 times out of 10 much rather play the 7 mana Orzhov Kaya Planeswalker that has hexproof. That actually has an ability that will eventually win the game. Whereas if you look closely at this Ugin, you can see none of these abilities actually win you the game at all. None of them do that.
Yeah, they don't progress the game. They just buy time.
They buy time.
Yeah.
Like the best thing about Ugin I can say is that you play him on like turn 4 if you can handle it. You play him on turn 4 with some ramp. He blows something up. You use his ability to give you mana. And then with that ability, you play like a rock or something and you blow something else up. Like that seems like you're creating the amount of an amount of inevitability that will win you the game. But his abilities aren't actually offensive in any way, shape, or form. He can just be like Sheoldred's Edict did or whatever, just any spell that blows up a Planeswalker. No real protection, and you paid 7 mana for him. So I have issues. I think his ETB is really good, and I do think there's a fair amount of inevitability on his +2, but nothing actually wins the game on this, and I couldn't help but notice that.
Yeah, I was trying to think of like, well, how many colorless things are there I would actually want to play? Like, obviously, you can play stuff like Iron Crag or whatever.
Iron Crag, yeah.
For
Collector's
ramp.
Vault is another cheapish one that's okay. Will help you ramp into this too.
That's a thing. But then it's like, okay.
Chimil, the Inner Sun, Mightstone, Weakstone.
Yeah, but what's Shamil getting? Like,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
A bunch of dinky little rocks.
What are things that are helping us? Because almost all of the artifacts I can think of are actually colored artifacts right now, right? Yeah. Whether you want to play Glass Casket or the Cornucopia or
synthesizers.
Hell, even the one from last set that has Start Your Engines on it, right? Exile a permanent, whatever. That's a white one. Yeah. Right. One. So all the stuff I want to do are actually colored artifacts right now. Yeah. Like
Filigree Silex, Karn Silex, like there's choices, but these are all kind of subpar.
I mean, those are sweepers at least.
Yeah, at least they're sweeps.
So they could buy you time. Yeah. So like those count.
It's like I don't know that you have to go oops all colorless on Ugin. I think you could just be incidentally in a deck that plays a few colorless cards. But he's just a strong planeswalker.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. This could just be like the Azorius controlled planeswalker that just later in the game, great. I'm gonna gain 3, draw a card.
Yeah, like positionally, once he's down in the right situation, I think he is really, really tough to beat. So, like, I think that this is I think it's a very good planeswalker, but is he worth $80 of your money? I don't think so.
That's the thing, right? Because even Sheoldred doesn't show up in everything, but it shows up in a lot of things.
Yeah.
Obviously, almost every commander playing black wants a Sheoldred, whatever.
Right.
But that's still in the $70 range. So I'm like, is Ugin equal to or greater than Sheoldred in playability? Like, in raw strength, probably yes.
Maybe.
In playability,
like any deck can play him.
No. Right? Because it costs more. The deck has to be more built around it. Whereas, like, Sheoldred's just, are you doing black creature things? Sure. Are you making your opponent draw cards? Sure. Are you drain lifing your opponent or whatever? Yeah, sure. Yeah. Right. It just has more spots it can go into than Ugin, I think. So I do think it's a good card. I think this is one of those examples of we can think a card's good and still think it's overhyped.
Overrated, right. That was one of the big points with this entry is just like, I think the card is very good. It's just like people are really losing their heads over it. I don't know about that.
Because again, I think it'll show up, but I don't expect Ugin to be more than a 1 of or 2 of in a couple of decks, probably.
Yeah, same. What do you have for number whatever we are on?
My number 2.
We're 2 already. Wow, okay.
Yeah, we're making our way through this. So again, we're talking about dragons, because I gotta have some dragons on my list. But Betor kin to all. This is the Abzan dragon.
Yeah, the
So it's
Abzan one.
2 white, black, green, 5/7 spirit dragon with flying. And then basically there's a bunch of stuff that cares about your creatures having big butts. So at the beginning of your end step, if your creatures you control have toughness 10 or greater, you draw a card. If it's 20 or greater, you untap each creature you control. And if it's 40 or greater, your opponent loses half their life. Now, the reality is, even in Commander, you're probably not very often going to get to the 40 or greater. Like that's
40 is right out.
Yeah, that's tough. Like I've played a lot of games that are like mid-rangey, grindy, kind of like battle cruiser commander sometimes. And even then it's hard to get to 40s. So 40 toughness worth of things. So probably not a thing. Is getting a card every turn good enough? Untapping my creatures, probably. Like 10 is for sure hittable because this thing's 7 on its own.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you're very hittable. Always going to get 10. How often am I going to get to 20 and not win the game in a turn or two?
Yeah, that's the thing is if you're at 20 toughness, like in standard, you're probably just winning anyway,
Now, my other issue is that this is going for as much as most of the other dragons. You can't find it really below like 10 or 12 bucks in a lot of places.
Wow.
Which kind of surprises me.
Yeah, it kind of looks like the straight up worst one of the like legendary dragons.
Well, I feel like it's the one you have to build around the most.
Yeah, I should have said worst. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the thing to me. I'm like, where is the hype coming from on this card? Like, even within the set, Abzan isn't really doing the big butt thing, right? It's doing like +1/+1 counters, some death touch things, some renown out of the graveyard, right? It's not really doing this, which is kind of like a weird out of place card that means it's meant for things outside of this block or outside of standard or whatever.
Sort of. There's that turtle for like 3 mana that like during your turn all your guys have hexproof or something. And he hits for toughness instead of power.
No, we have some in standard where we can use this, but not necessarily with other cards in the set itself.
Yeah, in the set,
standard,
you're
we
right,
do have that. We have the other one that like you can pay blue to make it not have defender or whatever. And it's like something big toughness. Yeah. You also have
I know what you're talking about.
The other creatures that you draw if you play a creature that has a bigger toughness and whatever, right? We have a bunch of that stuff that you can play.
Fecund Green Shell, like that guy's really good, yeah.
So like we have cards that it can be played with, but does this make those cards automatically playable? Probably not, because they're just better creatures that we could be playing. But it's interesting. I like it. I will probably build a deck to use it just because we do content and playing with all the cards is fun.
Yeah.
But I just don't see this being the same value as the other dragons that at least have a chance to be somewhat what I would call in like at least tier 2 level, the way people would classify them.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't really see it. I don't know why this would be so expensive. I mean, it's just an Abzan big old dragon, and like sure he can draw you an extra card every turn, but there's obviously way better cards. So yeah, that's a really good pick, unless people are just trying to brew around it in Commander because it does something really different and like potentially powerful.
Yeah,
but I don't think Standard's driving that price, and if it is, people are just plain wrong about it. That's not a standard playable card, like at all.
Yeah, it's so surprising to me. Like I said, I was like, oh, this card's kind of neat, and when I looked up how much it was going for, $10, $11, $12 on so many sites, I'm like, but so are the other dragons. I'm like, how is this the same price as the other ones that? Honestly, when you read them, you go, yeah, this is obviously at least somewhat competitive.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, I don't get it.
Not this dude. Well, my number 2, I suppose, we'll do was, I got to tell you, it was Craterhoof Behemoth, but I didn't really want the smoke. That card's going to see play.
Yeah.
Instead, I've chosen another card that people just outright love from this set, and I get the love, but I don't get the hype. This is Qarsi Revenant, 3 mana, 1 and 2 black for a 3/3 vampire with flying, death touch, and lifelink. It also has renew. You can pay 2 and a black and exile it from your yard to put its abilities onto a different guy at sorcery speed. So a flying counter, a lifelink counter, and a death touch counter. All at sorcery speed on a single creature with renew. I think this card is fine, but doesn't really pass beyond the realm of fine. I know that we all love Vampire Nighthawk, and you're looking at a strictly better Vampire Nighthawk here. However, Vampire Nighthawk was 15 years ago. How is this really? Is this really what we're playing in Standard? You let me know. I could be wrong.
I mean, to be fair, Vampire Nighthawk's still Standard legal and nobody plays it.
Nobody plays it. It's in Foundation. Nobody plays that card.
Yeah, when I saw this card, it was interesting because obviously it's just Vampire Nighthawk plus a power plus a graveyard ability, right?
Right.
And my question was really, is there a world where we want to play either a bunch of black creatures with lifelink or a bunch of stuff with death touch? If
Yeah, good
so,
point.
then I kind of want to play these cards.
Yeah, did we get Finn the Fangbearer back in
We do.
Foundations?
We do have that.
Yeah.
But
And
outside
then,
of it, if those aren't a thing we want to do, where do I want to play this card? Right? That became my next question. Because, like, if those aren't a thing, am I really just playing this for the renewability? Like, probably not.
It's like maybe some sort of mono black aggro deck.
Maybe
late in the game, I'm sure there's a couple of choices for something to get the counter. We just got that 2-mana 5/5.
We have the 2-mana 1/3 that lets you put a +1/+1 or whatever, and you lose life when you attack.
Or Bitter Blossom, that guy.
Yeah, like maybe.
I really like that creature, by the way, a lot. I think he's way better than this guy. And so maybe if we have like a black flyers, like a black aggro deck that cares about flyers, Deep Cavern Bat in the 2-drop slot, plus that guy you were just talking about, this in the 3, maybe. But I'm actually really nervous about playing basically any creature that dies to like a bolt or nowhere to run or Virtue of Persistence or Torch the Tower that costs more than a couple of mana. This costs 3. If you wanted a creature that's a close analog to this in Standard, I'd say the closest thing we have is Steel Seraph. And it sees sparing play from time to time.
Yeah.
If anything makes this card see play, it's probably going to be the ability to bestow its keywords onto other creatures. And there's some interesting shots there. Okay, so maybe later in the game, you sacrifice some stuff, get a Rotten Mouth Viper into play. And now you can put Flying and Lifelink on your 6/6 Viper. Okay, but again, is this card strictly necessary?
Yeah, there's a lot of work there to make that happen. I was thinking maybe is there like a Orzhov life gain deck or something where you might want this in the
you got like
the
Enduring
Nighthawk.
Tenacity.
Like maybe I'd have to really look because there's some weird new like enchantments or skirmishes, whatever we call those, that let you choose some other cool abilities that have to do with either +1/+1 counters or lifelink or whatever, and like maybe
could work together.
But yeah,
I don't think idea.
I'm with you. I don't think this is a hype worthy thing. I think it's just if we're gonna play it, it's probably fine to play and it will fit the deck it goes in. But yeah, the hype makes it feel like this is going to be a thing we're playing in all of our black decks, and I don't know if it is.
Just one of those where I feel like people are kind of stuck in nostalgia land a little bit. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, Vampire Nighthawk's great. It is in Standard, doesn't see play, and even though this is upgraded in every way, I'm still not into it. Maybe, like you said, black-white life gain. Late in their game, you put Flying and Lifelink on an Amalia, and that's really good. But ultimately, yeah, I just don't think it packs like enough punch.
Golgari has value with it, but at the same time, it's like, okay, we're playing the Vampire, the 2/4. We're playing the 3/3 first strike death touch, right? With Glissa. Like
sometimes you play like Liliana.
Yeah, so I'm just like, like
even like Sentinel of the Nameless City, it's
like maybe I replace Sentinel. Like,
could be.
There's a flyer, gives me life. Like maybe, like that would be the card.
Like, I'll say later on in the game, being able to put these keywords on a Sheldred or a Glissa, like that would be good, right?
That's why I would probably make the change over that. So, like, if there's a spot, that's the spot I would probably put it in.
Right. So I'm not saying it sees like absolutely no. If like basically, I'll double down and say the renew ability might make it see some play, but just a strictly upgraded Vampire Nighthawk is actually not that good nowadays. But
nah.
I think we are now on your number 2.
No, it's my number 1.
See, I've just been like off all day. Yeah, what's your number 1 most overrated card in the whole set?
This one, and I probably should have looked to see what this is going for, because I'm sure it's a number that's going to blow my mind. Yeah. Oh, it's definitely. Oh my God, this number.
Boy.
My heart sank when I just saw how much this thing's going for. Jesus Christ. Mox Jasper.
Oh well, yeah. This is this should have been my number 1. You're like 100% right.
I had the cheapest I'm seeing anywhere is like around $50. Goodness. Woo! Yeah.
Jeez, dude.
Wow. Okay. So why do I think this is overhyped? Well, other than the price, I don't think anybody should be buying these at $70 like they're going for in a lot of sites.
Crazy.
But here's my thing. I think there is a world, and we were talking about this in my Discord earlier today, actually. There is a world where you can get an early dragon with like the blue ley line or whatever, and then ramp up with Mox Jasper and blah, blah, blah. Like there's some gimmicky situation, right? But generally speaking, this is probably going to be best used as either just an extra piece of mana late game in Dragon decks, or
Yeah.
kind of like we talked about on one of our other videos, maybe you play it as part of a combo piece because it's just a zero cost artifact that you can play, right?
Yeah, I think that might be a big thing too. Some decks just want a zero cost arty, and this does that.
Yeah, and we have a dragon that cares about storm or whatever, right? Like maybe you just want a couple of zero cost things and then you play that and you got 3 dragons that are pumping all your dragons. Like, I don't know. If with the Lotus thing, right? Like it's another zero cost artifact that you could turn into 3 mana, maybe that's something. But beyond that, like I think my problem right now is the dragon decks already have so many good ways to ramp, right? You have Llanowar Elf, you have the Herd Heirloom, you have Sarkhan himself, you
Yeah.
have the new 2/1 or the 3/1 actually, red creature that taps for red,
Yep.
right? We have
That
other
creature is so good, dude.
Yeah, we have all kinds of other just green things that go search for lands or whatever. If you want to do that. We have uh the Iron Forge or Iron Crag,
Iron
right?
Crag, yeah.
We have so many things that you don't have to take a gamble on not being able to get your mana. So like,
Yeah.
why are we playing Mox? Because even if we get the Mox Jasper active, say on turn 3, we've already spent the rest of our mana to get the dragon to now have that. So next turn we could play something for 6 probably. But how many of the 6 cost dragons are we really going to want to play? Except for him,
That's
maybe 1 or 2 of them, right?
that's like the one thing I can say practically for this card is that, yeah, it probably won't ramp you until you're a little bit later in the game, but most dragons cost 4 to 6 mana anyway. So you play your 4-drop dragon on turn 3, a little ahead of schedule because Sarkhan, Lana Worlds, whatever. And then like that means it's starting on really on turn 3, this can tap for mana. That's really good because it might cast Torch the Tower or something like that.
Sure.
But starting on turn 4, this could reasonably actually cast like a 5-drop dragon for you. But there are hoops. There's so many hoops. And when you start talking about like the blue ley line and stuff, it's like, well, that's too much. But when it comes to just like play it in your dragons deck with 16 dragons, I actually think there's some talk there because unlike, well, let me put it this way. I am getting like Mox Amber vibes from this.
Sure.
And Mox Amber is really expensive because it's a great commander card. That's probably exactly the road this goes down.
Well, Mox Amber's been used in older formats too.
Yeah, Mox Amber's been used in Modern and Legacy even. This maybe won't see that same amount of play. If you go to Scryfall and you go legal and standard dragons by mana cost, the only thing that costs less than 3 mana is Shivan Devastator. It can cost 2 mana if you want
and you don't really want to do that.
Exactly. Everything else costs, what we got?
You have a white dragon that's 3.
Yep, we have exactly that.
Everything
new
else
one
is 4+.
But the problem with the white one is that it won't let you tap your mana rocks.
Yeah, exactly. It's not even the thing you want to have with this.
Apart from that, Phyrexian Dragon Engine is a dragon. It costs 3. Fire Spitter Whelp is a dragon.
But you're not going to want to play those junky cards just to justify the Mox Jasper.
Kind of crappy, right? So like all your good dragons started 4. I guess again, my only thing is if you play a 4-drop dragons and suddenly this coming online could be really, really good. But it's just kind of a card in your deck. And for the first 3 turns, it's literally just a dead card in your hand. And like you don't want any of that.
If this is almost any of the other ramp cards, you're almost better off getting that ramp early on turn 2, turn 3 than you are waiting to play this on turn 4 or 5, right?
Yeah, it's part of the point of ramp is that like you want it as early as possible, so that it snowballs into something real. This actually kind of, and to your point, this wants you to have already ramped into a thing before you can ramp into more things. And like Mox Amber didn't even have that problem. Like I can go like 1-drop legend on turn 1, Mox Amber, it works, This doesn't even have like a good early game play. So
we mentioned this somewhere on one of the other videos that we know Lorwyn's in the future.
Changelings.
Yeah, and if we get quality 2 mana changelings, maybe.
Yep.
Okay, that changes the argument. So if we can find these for $25-$30 in the next 7 to 9 months, before Lorwyn gets announced, and people get
maybe that's
changelings
a thing to do.
Yeah, but then you pick them up.
Even then, like let's say they reprint Changeling Outcasts in Lorwyn, so now you have a 1-drop 1/1 Changeling guy. Is that okay?
It needs to at least be a changeling that does something. That's why I was saying like 2 mana. Like
exactly. I think Changeling Outcast is unblockable or whatever, but like, well, maybe it can only be blocked by other changelings. I forget how the card works.
Yeah.
But one way or the other, what you're saying is correct. You need more impactful stuff Because if you go like 4 Changeling Outcasts, 4 Mox Jasper, then like that is 8 slots in your deck that are going to be more or less useless like most of the time. Yeah. So,
But like I'm saying, if they give us like for whatever reason, let's say a 2 mana 3/3 Changeling, right? Doesn't do anything else, it's just Changeling, right? That would be worth playing, and then maybe playing Mox Jasper.
Yeah.
Right. I could get behind that, because then you just play that on 2, and now you can just play this and play a 4 mana thing on 3 anyway. So it's almost like it ramped you up, right?
Or like go ahead and cast Cut Down the same turn you cast your guy. Like there's some pretty crazy openings with Jasper. It's just you can't get to any of them before turn 3 or 4. So Changelings will be the thing.
For me, it's just the price is too high on this for what you're gonna have to do to make it work. Now again, combo-y things, older format stuff, those are probably real things. I'm just focusing on standard. If you needed this for a deck you want to play at your store championships or whatever, I would wait till I realistically see a point where this card will be at least in the $30 range, probably even a little less. And then you could pick it up.
Like 5-color dragons, if you look at EDA, if you trust EDA track data, 5-color dragons is a deck that like the most people are building. I think it's one of the most popular decks in Commander for the last couple of years. And with this set coming out, I imagine that 5-color dragons will be the most popular deck in Commander, at least again on EDA track. And this card has to go into every single one of those decks without question.
Because again, those decks still aren't playing dragons before like turn 4-ish.
They're not, but so I think they probably still want it.
For me personally, I'd rather just be another card. Just something
Most of the time I would too.
Yeah.
It's like if I have to choose between drawing this and Terror of the Peaks, almost no matter when in the game it is, I'm going to want the Terror of the Peaks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, because again, if you don't have it in hand when it would immediately be active, you'd almost rather just be something else when you draw it later.
Almost anything.
Yeah.
Like in the first 3 turns of the game, you would almost every single time rather this be like a removal spell or something.
Absolutely.
It's just not. It's a dead card. So I agree. But all that said, now I'm gonna bring it. If the 2 cards that are our number ones, are pretty diametrically opposed, I would say in some ways. You have a card that is supposed to be a Moxen, right? One of the ways to go the fastest you could possibly go in a game of Magic. I am going to amble my way into number 1 with Ambling Stormshell. Now, I'm not going to pretend this card is expensive. It's about $250 right now, pre-order. However, I have gotten more comments about this card in my comments section this previous season than any other card. And I kind of mean by a lot. A lot of people are talking about this turtle. And I've even seen at least one Draft Sim or MTG Rocks article in my new tab news about this card because people are freaking out about it. This is 5 mana, 3 and 2 blue for a 5/9 turtle with ward. It's got ward 2. Whenever it attacks, put 3 stun counters on it, draw 3 cards. Whenever you cast a turtle spell, untap this creature. So this, how many ways can I point out this is not a good Magic card? It costs 5 mana in a color that does not want to tap out. Everyone's freaking out about the draw 3, but I think that one of the reasons people like this card is some of the comments I've seen seem to not understand how stun counters work. In that you can just untap this guy somehow. But no, you got to untap him 3 separate times before he actually untaps. If he still has a stun counter on him, just untapping him somehow will not actually untap him. It'll just take a stun counter off of him. So there's that. If there's one thing that I got to give my comment section, it's that one genius said that this is going to work really well with the Spider-Man when the Spider-Man comes out. And I was like, what the hell does the Spider-Man do? Spider-Man in that Spider-Man set, or at least one version of him, that thing attacks and removes up to 3 counters from any number of permanents and then draws cards for the amount of counters that you removed. Meaning that if this and Spider-Man attack at the same time, it doesn't get any stun counters and you draw 6 cards.
But like,
that is a stupid interaction. I will say that much.
Playing that with Spider-Man?
Nope.
That's what I was like.
Either one
I'm like, is
of
Spider-Man
those 2
even
cards.
Blue? Like, I'm like,
you're not playing either one of those cards in your good Magic the Gathering deck that wins games of Magic the Gathering. I just don't see the
he is blue
this.
Actually, so that's a thing. But
okay, I wasn't sure about Spidey. Like his color identity. But even though those two can go together, cool. Congratulations on your like kind of mid-rangey like turn 6 combo. Just it's not going to work in standard. People say this has wards, so that makes sure it attacks. No, it doesn't. It costs 5 mana. Like even if they go for the throat this, they're still paying 1 less mana than you paid, even with the ward.
Yeah.
I like drawing 3, and I like drawing 3 on a largely statted guy. Like his power and toughness aren't embarrassing for what you're paying. I can't think of a single blue deck that would ever want this card. We're already not playing like Riptide Gearhulk or whatever. Why would we play this card?
Yeah, that's what I'm sort of thinking. For 5 mana, you get a 5/9. It's a sizable body that hell, even mono red probably isn't punching through with double strike, whatever, which is cool. But I don't how many even like hold on. I'm like, how many even quality turtles are there?
Like 3. Honestly,
we have Bedrock Tortoise, Blossoming Tortoise, Fecund Green Shell.
I guess
technically
turtle.
like Kogla and Yadaro, but then you have to start talking about red.
Yeah.
And then Pride of the Whole Clade, but that's, you're stretching a little bit to play that card.
Yeah, it's like all those cards are kind of bad. Like Green Shell, I guess Green Shell's fine, but it's the same mana cost as this. How many?
Yeah, Green Shell, Blossoming Tortoise, and Bedrock Tortoise, I guess, because it's technically a 6/6 during combat.
I'll say Blossoming Tortoise isn't bad. It's not a bad card.
But that's kind of it. And I don't know if I want those to be the basis of my deck.
And I'll say one more time, the way untapping works with stun counters, people keep saying like, oh, all you got to do is play Green Shell the next turn. It untaps it. No, it doesn't. It removes a stun counter.
The card tells you on it. It says if a person permanent has a stun counter and it will become untapped, remove 1 from it instead.
Like nobody reads reminder text. Yeah. They just forget. It's just they think they know how untapping with stun counters works. It doesn't. So I don't know why I keep seeing like, I don't know if it's just me, but I am plagued by comments about this card this season. And it's really, I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around. Maybe I'm being trolled. I have no idea. But like, it's not just my comment section. Like I said, I've seen multiple articles on my news tab about this card. And I just do not understand.
This would be fun with like Betor Dragon or whatever, but this is blue and those are Abzan colors. So that is
exactly. Yeah, I was going to say, we were just talking about having to have like really high toughness, and it would work with that. But again, it's 4 color toughness. Like, what are we doing, right? So I don't know, man. But one thing I'll say about this is if you can somehow incidentally give it vigilance, then it kicks ass. But how are we doing that? What good cards are we playing that do that? None. So I don't get it, dude. I like the guy. I think he's a cool guy, but people are acting like he's actually standard playable. I think this is like obviously a bulk
3
rare.
3 stun counters is a lot.
It's so many.
Yeah.
It's crazy amount of stun counters. So, but I mean, I've had people straight up argue with me, like, well, you play it and they can't swing into it because it's got a ridiculous toughness. And then you get to attack with it. And it's like, yeah, I attack and draw 3, but then what? It just sits there for 3 turns, Would you pay 5 mana for a card that says draw 3 cards? No. So what are we doing? I don't understand. But that's all that's my number one. It could have been Crater Hoof. It could have been, Ugin. It could have been it could have been Elspeth. Like, I feel like there are a lot of overrated cards in this set, but I don't get why people are freaking out about a 5 mana turtle that normally everyone would know is bad.
Well, this is one of those ones that when we come back and revisit this in a couple months, we'll definitely have some things to talk about.
See, man, like if I'm wrong about the turtle, I'm going to, I don't know. I commit seppuku on camera because I'm pretty confident it's a bad card. But if it somehow becomes a good one, I'll actually be stoked about that. I'll be happy if it's a good card.
Yeah,
but,
sometimes it's okay to want to be wrong,
right? Yeah. And often we are on these lists with the overrated cards, at least. But either way, that is it for the day, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, what do you got?
If somebody has watched our overrated review from last time, because we just did that, they will see we actually weren't that wrong.
Yeah, honestly, on our overrated, we kind of nailed it a little bit. I think that I screwed up the Speed Demon. That's awesome play. But for the most part, like, none of the cards we pointed out as being overrated really were impactful whatsoever. So hopefully our brains are screwed on correctly for this one too.
We'll see. But this is a lot harder one to judge, I feel like.
Yeah, honestly, it is. I feel like there's a lot of hype in this set, and some of it could be justified or not. It all depends on sort of what goes with what, you know what I mean? Like you always say, what does the deck look like that you're building around these things? And, it could be there for some of these. You never know. But tell you what, you let The people know, because this one is on my channel, is it not?
Yep.
This was the overrated list. I've been forgetting like which one we're on all day, but we are on my channel, which means I'm going to turn it back over to you for a second. Tell the people where they can find you.
Hey, we're just working a lot, man. But if you want to see somebody who does work a lot, well, come over to my channel, because we just completed 5 years of daily videos on YouTube. Tons of Magic content. We have all types of stuff from shorts. I've just even recently been doing some Jeopardy stuff over there. If you want to come just get some Magic trivia. So
just to jump in, I've been really enjoying that. Personally, on a personal level, I've been really liking your Jeopardy stuff. Me and my wife watch actual Jeopardy every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's our only like appointment viewing. We have to see it every day. So like as soon as I saw you were doing Jeopardy stuff, fastest click of my life. Please
Awesome.
do watch his Jeopardy stuff.
Yeah, so it's been pretty fun. Like I said, if you want to come over, we do gameplay stuff, obviously, but I make some other stuff in. But it's PowrDragn, and then just come hang out. It's always a good time. Same vibes over on the other channel, so you should enjoy it.
Yeah, I know you guys like a chill time, and this is like literally the chillest dude I know. You may not know it, but I'm actually a massive ball of nerves. Whereas this guy is the real deal. I'm pretty sure this dude has never felt stress in his life.
Not really. I wasn't born with an embarrassment gene or anything, so I'm good.
No shame, no embarrassment, no stress. It's like, I wish I could live on that mode, buddy. But either way, man, just on your way out, do all the YouTube stuff. You know your job at this point. At absolutely zero cost to you. You can hit the button shaped like a thumb. That'll put me in more recommended feeds, theoretically. You could also sub to the sandwich. That would, again, technically put me in more recommended feeds. I don't think it actually does that, but for science, let's find out. Apart from that, you can throw $1 into the Patreon pot if you want to vote on what decks we do during Tarkir Dragonstorm. But with that, more or less donezo for this onezo. That is Allski Kowalski and Itski Lewitsky. So I'll catch you cats later. For PowrDragn, I am Dev from the place. Thanks for watching, Wizards. Spread love and be kind.